So today we're going to do an analysis from a request by a subscriber. They suggested to do Hut, which is a crypto mining company, and then we're going to get into some crypto too. And actually, we want to start with Bitcoin, and then start with Hut after that. And then I'm actually going to finish with Mara and see how Mara is doing, because that was one of the tickers that really took off in the previous bull market of crypto. So right here we have Bitcoin right now. Now, one thing I love with just really any crypto, but Bitcoin in general, is as far as the technicals are concerned, Bitcoin really does follow technicals really well. And I think it's just because so many people are actively trading it. You have a lot of holders or hodlers, but you also have a lot of people trading it, and a lot of actually some big institutions too trading it as well. So right now on the setup, we have the Bjorgum Multi-MA, which is the 7 and 25, and then we have this moving average right here, which is the 100 moving average, and then the TSI. And actually, one thing I want to bring up too, which is a really good indicator and something that I want to get into a little bit more in depth, is it's the half trend. So it takes a couple different things into consideration, like volume and things like that. And so if we're just looking at Bitcoin right now from a technical standpoint, what we're reaching right now is we're reaching this moving average. And let's just zoom in a little bit. So this is the 100-day moving average. And you can see actually today was a little bit of a downturn on a day. Now, in my previous video, as I've said before, you don't want to trade just based on what happened in that particular day. But things really become clear with Bitcoin as you zoom out, and also particularly as you use the Heikin-Ashi candles. So just a little tip for you here, a little hack, is to use the half trend, bring that up on your trading view indicator, and just see how that works for you. But let's get rid of that for a second, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. And it's actually on the 3-day right now. So let's just bring up the weekly, and let's turn on the Heikin-Ashi candles. And now look at this. If you were to play Bitcoin just off of the Bjorgum clouds, you're seeing a huge potential for profits just by going long and by going short based on how the Heikin-Ashi candles are showing the trend. And sometimes what happens with trends is you do get a lot of choppiness on certain tickers, and it's hard to follow the trend even with the Heikin-Ashi candles smoothing things out. But if you just follow the Heikin-Ashi candles and follow the TSI or whatever oscillator you have, RSI, things like that, you can really make a good amount of profit, and it's not really actually hard to trade Bitcoin off of. So right now, things look pretty good for Bitcoin in the sense that we are up over this moving average, and we're up over these Bjorgum clouds. Now, as far as the TSI is concerned, there is some room to go. So if you're in Bitcoin right now long, and you got in somewhere around here, or maybe off of this little breather here, you don't necessarily have to sell out if you haven't reached your price target yet. But just keep in mind that we're reaching that level right here, and you want to take profits before you erase them, right? You know, the hard part about trading isn't necessarily about finding the right trade, it's getting out at the right time. So that's pretty huge. And you can zoom out even more on Bitcoin. And again, you know, you're not going to see the 100 MA here, but just going off of just the Bjorgum cloud alone, these two moving averages, and just off of the Heikin-Ashi candles, everything looks so clean and so simple. And that's one thing that I love about crypto, and that I particularly love about trading Bitcoin. So, you know, anyone that was riding the wave down here, hopefully you were hanging on. If you were hanging on for the most of the time, hopefully you stuck it out just a little bit longer and now reaping those benefits. And you see a little bit of an inflection down here, right where that green circle is. And now that green line on the TSI, and it's starting to inflect. Now keep in mind, you can have these inflections and they could be false signals. But even right here, you have this inflection, and you still got a huge increase right here because of the volatility, right? So going back down to the one, let's just go to the 1 day here. And so if you were just playing the Heikinashi candles off of the 1 day, you're overbought on the TSI, and you are a little bit high above this 100-day moving average. So you could expect to see a little bit of a downturn. And where it's going, I don't know. I don't really have anything short-term in crypto right now. All of my crypto is long-term. But keep in mind, again, just playing off of this moving average, you have the moving average pointing up now, which is a good sign. Keep in mind one unfortunate thing that people mix up with the moving average is they say, oh, just because it's over the moving average, I can start buying long again. No, you want the moving average to actually be turning up, and that's what we're seeing with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's volatile. The market, and especially the tech sector, seems a little overbought at this moment. Bitcoin seems to follow the tech sector pretty closely. I think just because that's where a lot of the money is. So keep in mind, you got to play it safe. But I don't mind. I don't hate where Bitcoin is right now. I really don't. So let's bring up HUT8. So HUT is the ticker symbol. And right now, again, we're over this moving average. Now, we saw this huge increase right here on the TSI and reflected into the price action. And it is nice that we're above this moving average right here. As far as the TSI, though, if we just bring that up a little bit, we are in no man's land a little bit. We could go up, we could go down. It's not necessarily overbought, oversold. Would I play HUT right now? No, I wouldn't necessarily. You could see a little bit of a trend right here if we just bring that up a little bit. But I don't know. I don't really see anything too crazy to get into. That was the request that we had from a subscriber. But you could watch it. You could play it and see how it goes. And maybe let's just zoom out and see if there's anything more interesting that we can take a look at right here. The thing about HUT too is look at the volatility on this. You could triple your money pretty easily if you played it right. And we are blue in this multi-MA right now, which is a good sign. So if you're long in HUT, it's not necessarily terrible, but you got to keep in mind, if we zoom out, into the weekly, you do see this resistance right here. And this looks kind of like, let's just fix that. Looks kind of like a bearish rising wedge, right? So you have this resistance that the price action is just hugely trying to get over and is just struggling. It can't hit it. Meanwhile, we're squeezing, and a lot of times that causes an impulsion to the downside. If we get rid of this, the bulls are going to make the case that this isn't a bearish rising wedge, but rather a inverse head and shoulders. Those two can look very similar. And let's just finish up with Mara right now. So far, Bitcoin not looking terrible. HUT isn't necessarily anything I'd be crazy to get into. Mara right now, it is very slightly underbought on the TSI. It does have a little bit of a good amount of support right here, just like HUT did. Not necessarily the huge definitive line of resistance here, but you do have a resistance that kind of matches where that moving average is. So we could potentially see as Mara comes up on the, turn it to the regular candles for a second. As Mara comes up onto this moving average, we could see a rejection, and that could be what today is right here. You had a huge up day yesterday, and then the wick came almost all the way up to where I just put this zone here, and now we're seeing a rejection down. So again, we're seeing what looks like a bearish rising wedge. So I wouldn't necessarily get into it right now. I would like to see the price action come up like this, bounce off of this line right here, which at the same point could also be the moving average, which could act as two sort of confirmations. And even right just on this upturn right here is where you could buy, and then you could put a stop loss somewhat at a certain percentage below that and ride all the way up, and now you have a certain amount of profits, and then you change your stop loss to seal in the profits, and you just trail all the way up until you get stopped out. That's what I got for you today. Bitcoin Hut Mara. If you want to see anything else as far as technical analysis, leave a comment down below. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you see all of my latest content, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.